Welcome back to Today in Atlanta Sports. In this episode, we are going to be talking about the Braves offseason, giving our final grades. We're going to grade each individual signing, and we're also going to grade the whole offseason as a whole. I do imagine this is probably the end. I did write an article yesterday about how some, veteran starting pitchers that could be available or that are available on the market, and I think more will become available as guys get cut in spring training and so on. And I do think the Braves could add a veteran arm, just for competition. But for the most part, they're done. And they did better than I ever could imagine. I mean, credit to Liberty Media. The team won. Payroll went way up. I mean, we're talking about $180 million payroll, and we still might make another signing. Way up. 30 million, 25, 30 million above where it's ever been. So I know there's been a lot of flack about Liberty Media not spending money, but hey, we made money last year, and they're spending it, and it's nice to see. So hopefully, there's not as much, trash talking about the ownership because they are doing a good job this offseason. So let's start with the first signing of the offseason. It came before the lockout. Manny Pena. Love this move. Catcher was a huge sore spot for the team throughout the season. Travis d'Arnaud had to catch every game in the postseason because of the backups. I mean, Kevon Smith, Stephen Vogt, who ended up getting injured. They just weren't doing it. I do think Contreras long-term is going to be a catcher of the future in Atlanta. I just think, the guy's barely had any time to develop in AAA. I'd love to give him a full season of AAA, and you can always move Manny Pena. It was a 2-year deal. You can always move him or Travis d'Arnaud in the offseason. And Pena was arguably the best free agent catcher available. It was a very weak class. So I love this signing. It shores up the catcher position. You always have William Contreras in the minor leagues if you need him. I think this is a great signing. I'm giving it a B. I'm not going to give it an A because I don't think Manny Pena is like a god by any mean, but he's a very solid player, and I think the Braves needed a guy like that.
Yeah, AA deserves credit here. He clearly scoured the free agent market, saw that it was pretty lacking in catchers, and he went out and got a guy before the lockout happened. So I'll give it a B plus just purely based on the recognition of the market. I mean, if he had waited any longer, we'd be sitting here talking about, damn, is William Contreras really ready, or some bum, whenever d'Arnaud's out.
Chadwick Trump. Trump. Shout out Chadwick Trump. He followed me on Instagram the other day, so shout out Trump. But yeah, they signed him too. He's also in the minor leagues, so he's probably this year's Kevon Smith if, a bunch of people get injured. The next signing, Kirby Yates. I love this signing. Yates, last time he was healthy in 2019, was the best reliever in baseball. Finished top 10 in the NL Cy Young race, which you just don't see. 1.19 ERA, 41 saves. He's had back-to-back season-ending surgeries. That's worrisome. But, I mean, he's going to get paid $1 million in 2022. There's a chance he's back in August, September. Anthopoulos reported that, they're hopeful he'll be back in August. If that comes to fruition, he looks anything like he did in 2019. I'm doing anything. This is an A++ signing. I'm giving it an A+ because there's really no risk here. I think at the very least, he'll be serviceable enough to be worth, the $6 million guarantee they gave him. And they could have him under contract for 3 seasons. So I love this signing. Yates has been a guy that's been on the Braves' radar for a while. His medicals didn't check out last year. The Braves ended up not signing him. He ended up having to get Tommy John surgery. So they're very familiar with his medicals. So they know what to expect here. They wouldn't be signing him if they didn't think he'd be ready at some point over the course of this contract. Low risk, high reward. And this wouldn't be an A+ if the Braves didn't go get Colin McHugh and Kenley Jansen. Like if they didn't have enough money to go get another reliever, then this wouldn't be an A+. But being that Kirby Yates could potentially be your 5th or 6th guy, 7th guy even out of the bullpen later in the year, oh my God, this is an A+.
Yeah, you said it right there. It's very low risk and high reward, and that's exactly why it should get an A grade. Basically, there is no downside to this whatsoever. The money is so little that even if he doesn't play at all, it's nothing. It's nothing to the salary cap. It's like less than 1% of the salary cap, and basically, they said no to him last year and then signed him this year. That should give Braves fans confidence that he is maybe not close to a bounce back, but it's more likely he bounces back this year than obviously last year where he didn't pitch at all. I mean, the Braves obviously know what's going on with his medicals. They feel confident enough in those medicals to sign him and just have him basically for the couple months leading up to the postseason and the postseason. So yeah, A+, especially, considering we don't need him. Even without him in the bullpen,
Yeah, I mean,
it's fine.
like I look at Kirby Yates in the same light that I do Mike Soroka. Both guys are hopeful to be ready by July, August, September. If you get something out of them this year, fantastic. If not, pack it in and get ready for next year. I think no matter what, they're going to take things slowly with Yates. This is his second Tommy John surgery. But I think no matter what, he makes an impact in 2023 and maybe even 24 as well. Jay Jackson was also acquired before the lockout for a player to be named later. I don't think this is much of a big deal. I'm not even going to give a grade to this because, one, he just got put on the 60-day IL, which is, disappointing. And we might not even see him this year, especially with how good loaded the bullpen already is. So I'm not even going to give this a grade. It was basically a nothing trade. If he came in and had an impact, great. But now with him being on the 60-day IL, there's nothing really there. The big thing of the offseason, obviously the biggest deal, Matt Olson in exchange for Pache, Cusick, Langoliers, Joey Estes. I'm going to go ahead and give this one an A2. I think the Braves needed to make a move. And the reason I'm definitely giving it an A is because of the extension they were able to get done with Olson, 8-year extension with a 9th-year option. He's basically under contract through 2030 or under team control through 2030. And he's entering his prime at 28 years old. I love this move. It sucks to lose out on Freddie. It sucks to even lose out on Shea Langoliers and Christian Pache, who I'm really happy for. They'll get an opportunity this year. But Matt Olson for 8-9 years, I'll take that all day. So I have to give this an A. And the fact that AA went out there, pulled the trigger, didn't let the Braves get screwed by Freddie Freeman signing first. Very, very, very love this trade. Love this trade.
Yeah, AA is a wizard. I mean, he basically got an ultimatum from Freddie's reps, take this deal or whatever. And he said, okay, well, no. And then immediately went and made a deal for for arguably the best first baseman in baseball. He's won multiple Gold Gloves. He could actually hit 50 home runs in Truist. He's carrying like a $21 or $22 million AAV. I mean, this was a home run signing and extension. Everybody would have been really questioning this if this was only for 2 years. When they traded for him, they had 2 years of team control, correct?
Yeah, they only had 2 years of team control.
Yeah, so it would have been a really bad trade if they didn't extend him, but the extension was basically in place.
I wouldn't say bad, but yeah, I definitely would be when it happened and we didn't know the extension was coming. I was definitely questioning the deal because it's like you almost might as well pay Freddie, get him for 6 years, and keep your prospects if you're only going to be doing this again in 2 years. But the fact that they got the extension, that's what gives it an A. Re-signed Eddie Rosario. I'll give this one a B. I love Eddie Rosario. The Braves did need a left-handed bat, but I saw what Jorge Solaire got from Miami, 3 years, $36 million. I know Rosario only got 2 years, 18, but I just was in love with Jorge Solaire. I think and I know you want to get a left-handed bat, and I know Rosario has been more consistent, but when you look at the upside of Solaire, getting a guy who could hit 40 or 50 bombs if he hits anything like he did last year with Atlanta, and I know he's been inconsistent, but I just felt like Atlanta was the perfect place for him. So I'm going to give this one a B because I would rather have Solaire, but I still love Rosario. Nothing against Rosario. I'm just going to give it a B.
Yeah, I love Steady Eddie. And I think a little bit differently that I would rather have the steady guy who can, Eddie can hit for power and contact. I mean, I think that his attributes in the lineup may be more valuable at this point because the Braves now have, home run guy after home run guy. Marcell Ozuna, Austin Riley, Matt Olson. All these guys, Acuna can hit for home runs, and so can Rosario, but Rosario can also just hit for contact and knock some of these guys in. I'm going to give it an A just because I'm a bigger Eddie fan than Solaire. Solaire's just, putting asses in seats. That's what Solaire does. Yeah,
I just listen, man. I'm just so sold on the fact that the MLB today is all about hitting home runs. Screw average, screw all that shit. The team that hits the most home runs in a game usually wins the game. I think it's like 70% or something like that. And the Braves, the reason why They won the World Series last year because they dropped tanks. Like, they dropped bombs. Like, everybody on that roster could hit a bomb. And listen, Eddie can hit homers too. I mean, this guy could hit 25, 30 bombs if he plays every day. So I'm not like against it. I just think the presence of Solaire, what he did to that lineup, and what he could do with a Ronald Acuna and a Matt Olson in the middle of that lineup, that's just a scary thought process to me. So that's the only reason. I love Eddie. I just love Solaire more. Sign Colin McHugh. This is an A+. A small deal, $10 million deal, $6 million club option in year 3. A+. Guy's a hometown kid. Guy's absolutely filthy. He actually, I'm going to do an article on it later. He made the list of top 10 relievers in baseball. He was number 6. Filthy slider. It's like a Frisbee. A+ here. Colin McHugh for $10 million. Solidifies the bullpen, and we got even better with one of the next signings.
Yeah, it seems like every other signing was either a Braves fan or from Georgia. I mean, I understand Turner was national back in the day, so that's why they have all these fans. But still, it feels like every other guy we signed was, from Alpharetta, from Roswell, from Atlanta. But it's just another example of AA just finding diamonds in the rough. 2 years for $10 million with a $6 million club option. I mean,
McHugh was ridiculous. A guy that I probably wrote about 5 times hoping that we would get. So, and it was not, and I actually heard that he had interest, not saying that I have sources. Who am I? No, just kidding. But I actually heard that he had interest in the Braves, but I didn't hear anything after that. And I'm glad that they were able to get him because I love this signing. I think him alone solidifies the Braves bullpen. And then if you add Yates, who could get healthy. But let's just skip ahead. Alex Dickerson, I like that signing. Nice little depth piece. I think he'll make the opening day roster. Not a huge thing. Let's just skip ahead because I think the most thing that excited me this whole offseason was when we popped the top off and went and got Kenley Jansen on a 1-year, $16 million deal. I mean, this is the best bullpen I've ever seen on paper. Like, if Kirby Yates comes back, I just want to let you know, Kirby Yates will be the 6th or 7th option in this bullpen when he comes back. Luke Jackson, who had a sub-2 ERA. You might not love Luke Jackson. I understand there's still some haters out there. Guy had a sub-2 ERA. He could be the 7th man in the bullpen this year. Kenley Jansen's going to close your games. He's one of the best closers there's been for over a decade. Will Smith now moves down to a setup role. Tyler Matzek sets up. Colin McHugh sets up. I mean, Tyler Matzek might be the best reliever on the whole team, and we're talking about this guy could be pitching in the 5th inning. By the time playoff time rolls around, we might not need a starting rotation. I mean, if you start pitching these guys for an inning or two, I mean, it's just filthy. I mean, because that's what we were doing. I mean, Matzek was pitching 2 innings. Minter was pitching 2 or 3 innings. I mean, you throw Spencer Strider. If Spencer Strider makes it to the bullpen this year as a permanent member, it is the most electric bullpen. I mean, that is alone could put asses into the seat. I just want people to understand what they're going to be seeing this year. And Brian Snitker, I mean, talk about managing. You don't even need a manager. A monkey can manage this team because you can't go wrong. Like last year, there was a period where nothing could go right. Whoever Brian Snitker sent out there, they just blow it, And it was like everyone was blaming him. But the truth of the matter was the guys just were sucking it. They were sucking wind. They were blowing games. And once they started, doing well at the end of the season, you're like, oh, Brian Snitker actually knows what he's doing. Well, that's how kind of a lot of managing works. A monkey could actually manage this team because I think bullpen decisions are mostly, especially with the DH, bullpen decisions are pretty much all you have to do. A monkey could literally manage this team to a World Series with that bullpen. It's unbelievable what they put together.
Yeah, even if the night shift takes a step back, and regresses, the additions of McHugh and Jansen still make it one of the best bullpens in baseball. That's the craziest part. And then when if you speculate and think that, Minter, Maztek, and Jackson and Will Smith, all these guys kind of regain form like they did in the playoffs, they'll be unhittable. Nobody's going to score a run past the 6th inning. Nobody.
The night shift wasn't even that good until the playoffs. Right. I mean, they were great in the playoffs, but they weren't even that good in the playoffs. I mean, dude, we're talking about 2 years ago, AJ Minter came into the season as the closer. This guy's now going to be pitching the 5th inning, and I love Minter. He's a stud. I mean, we've seen him in the playoffs dominate. I mean, playoff Minter, the guy's a cheat code. This guy's now our 5th inning pitcher. He's our lower tier middle reliever. I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, there's a chance the night shift could take significant steps forward as far as regular season production goes. I mean, Will Smith could go back to being a 2 ERA guy. Tyler Matzek has the potential to be a sub-2 ERA guy. Minter, same thing. And Luke Jackson was a sub-2 ERA guy last year. So, I mean, this is the most exciting part about the team. I love watching home runs. I would have loved to seen Solaire with this lineup hitting bombs, and this lineup's going to hit a ton of bombs. The most exciting part about this team is that bullpen. It's awesome. It's awesome.
You're such a baseball dork, dude.
It's going to be so sick. It's going to be so sick, dude. I mean,
that's like somebody who loves football. It's like, I love just a defensive game. No points. Just field goals, baby. Just field goals.
You got to understand the art of the game, bro. Just watch this net. Look at this filth, bro. That's a Frisbee up there. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it's going to be, man. But overall grade, A++++, 8 times a million, man. I can't even lie. This was the best offseason I possibly could imagine. I couldn't have written it better myself. I actually tried to predict it with the most biased. Like, I was being as biased as possible, and I still didn't come away with an offseason as good as this. So A++.
Yeah, the Jansen just was the cherry on top because most of us were probably expecting maybe one more signing, but not even close to the caliber of player that Jansen was.
That's $16 million more.
It's incredible. We have the Dodgers all-time save leader as they take away Freddie Freeman. I mean, you can't write this story.
Yeah, I'm
awesome.
definitely going to be doing an article on this rivalry because anyone who doesn't think this has become one of the best rivalries in baseball is on crack. I mean, it's hard to get rivalries between teams that only play twice a year over a 162-game schedule. This is one of the best rivalries in baseball. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet in the NLCS.
Yep, and beat their